Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by White House reporter Haisten Willis. Haisten, it's election time. We're really entering into the home stretch. And President Biden has been sort of out on the campaign trail, but not exactly in the same way as Donald Trump and Barack Obama. What has kind of been his approach as he tries to help some of these at-risk Democrats across the finish line?
He has definitely been traveling over the last few weeks, but it's interesting to see where he's traveling to and what he's doing once he gets there. He has not been holding, certainly hasn't been holding Trump-style rallies with big giant crowds or anything like that, but really hasn't even been doing that many overt public campaign events where he appears with Senate candidate X and talks about whatever this person is doing. He's done a number of appearances, but they've been more policy focused. He seems to be kind of going in that direction. He talked about, he went at to Colorado a few years ago, for example, and dedicated a new national monument. The Democratic Senate candidate from Colorado was there, but it wasn't necessarily a political rally. He's done a number of Democratic fundraisers. Those have been often just at people's houses, people who are very well-to-do. But those, again, have not been public and not really been campaign events in the traditional sense. So obviously most people are saying the reason for this is that his approval ratings are still pretty low. He's still stuck basically in the low 40s, and if he's not very popular, he's not going to be out doing a bunch of campaigning with different candidates.
So it sort of is a safe middle ground, maybe, at least arguably, because he's appearing with people at events where Democrats are going to be. So Democrats mostly still like the president. But it limits the photo ops some of these candidates who need the swing voters are going to have with the president.
Definitely less photo ops, and but they are still able to basically say that he's traveling. Last week, for example, he did a West Coast swing. He went to Colorado, which is swing-ish, but still leans blue, and then he went to very blue areas of California and Oregon, which are traditional blue states. He did not go to Nevada or Arizona, which are really more true swing states, and there were some questions asked about that, but they can still point to, well, he's traveling, he's going to do all these different events. The fact that he didn't go to the two biggest swing states in the area, who knows?
Right, but his comments do make news, so he's not completely hidden, and a lot of his remarks contain some pretty sharp jabs against Republicans.
Definitely, yeah, and there's a question about in the information age how important it is to even be, who cares if you're in this state versus that state, if I can just see what you're doing on the internet whenever I want to. But you're right, he's definitely gone pretty aggressively after Republicans. That's been part of his big message, talking about MAGA Republicans, extreme Republicans, ultra MAGA. He's called Trump the MAGA king. A lot of messaging about how dangerous Republicans are, how some Republicans don't believe in democracy or are threats to democracy. Some pretty sharp words he's had about Republicans more generally on during the campaign season, if not on the trail specifically.
Definitely, yeah. But the one really close Senate race that he seems to keep showing up to sort of promote the candidate is John Fetterman in Pennsylvania. He's made a couple of trips now out to Pennsylvania, and that is a tight race. It's not a race where it's clear who's going to win.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is definitely the exception to the rule. I'm still not really totally sure why, but Biden, for example, went to Georgia in January and has not been to Georgia since. Again, last week he didn't go to Arizona or Nevada, but Pennsylvania, he's there all the time. He's been to Pennsylvania more than he's been anywhere except for Delaware, which is his home state, where he goes almost every weekend. Number two is Pennsylvania. So he's made several appearances with John Fetterman. As you said, he made two different appearances on the same day, on October 20th, one in Pittsburgh and one in Philadelphia. It doesn't appear that he's necessarily more popular in Pennsylvania than he is in other places. His approval rating there is about the same as it is nationally, so he's not necessarily more popular there. I'm not totally sure why. Of course, now he does have ties to the area. He grew up, of course, in Scranton. Wilmington, where he's from, is basically like you could describe it as a Philadelphia suburb. I don't know if people there would describe it that way, but it's very close. It's like a half-hour drive. There was a Democratic strategist I talked to last week who said that some people had considered him to be Pennsylvania's third senator. So he was speaking to his popularity in Pennsylvania. But again, the polls don't necessarily bear that out.
Another thing that they've tried to do to move the needle in the midterm elections is this student loan announcement. Now, obviously, there are some policy reasons for student loan debt forgiveness, too. But clearly, the timing and the extent of the announcement was somewhat driven by midterm election considerations. But there's been some problems in terms of rolling things out. What's the state of play right now?
Right. Yeah, this was announced in August. The timing, as you said, definitely suggests this is a midterm-driven announcement. Now, the administration, if you asked them, would say, "Oh no, this is a campaign promise from 2020." You know, not campaign-related, but you know, some common sense, I guess, would suggest that midterms were a part of this. Yeah, people who went to college tend to lean Democratic. It's definitely something that people who were part of the Democratic bloc were wanting. And right, so if these people, there's about 40 million of them, are going to get student loan forgiveness. The idea is they would be more likely to go and vote for Democrats. Now, the big question now, as you're alluding to here, is whether or not this is actually basically going to happen. There have been 7 lawsuits by my count that have been filed against this, all of them saying basically that this is illegal and trying to get it stopped.
School's out for the summer. Thank you, Haisten.
Sure.
You can read Haisten and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.